got a banana or something for lunch hour, so they stopped that then.
No, I took my bag lunch. Yep, you're right. Mom always made our lunches.
And I think it was 35 cents, and they got a pretty well-balanced meal.
And,
But who had 35 cents, huh?
yeah. Yeah. And then, you know, we're pretty far from home. Sometimes we like to walk home just in case.
I took my bicycle up here,
Cars would drive
went
by.
home for dinner, and drove back here all the time. There was about 4 of us. We got to, I drove up to Michigan Avenue and 15th, and then Teddy Jarge and Howie Hansen and Leroy Kritzar come up Michigan Avenue, the 4 of us cruised all the way to school.
On your
home for
bikes?
dinner and back with our bikes,
You went home for lunch?
always, except in wintertime.
Wow.
Wintertime, there was a bus on 17th used to wait, just a school bus, a regular city bus, but it's waiting for school kids only. And when the bus was full, he'd take off, because we had to go up 17th, and this one kid was always late, so he'd go real slow, and all of a sudden the front door would come flying open, this kid come roaring out. It was Don Carl or something. He was always late. So the bus used to blow by New York Avenue. He's beep, 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 you know. And sure enough, by the time he got up to the house, the door flew open, here he comes. You know, he'd ignore kids in the store, you know, unless he'd see a teeth in a Tootsie Roll. They say, yeah, put it back. But I studied when I was playing with Duke on the Eat Long to that dancing, WMT dancing club. He always came out, hey, Don, how you doing, you know? Said, you son of This is old 141. I'll make a left here.
Are we going to stop at Leslie's?
Well, we'll come back this way.
Sounds good.
We'll start on the other end, which is only a few miles in. It's just too bad. About 2 years or 3 years, they took the old cheese factory down.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, it's all. And there's Leslie over there. Looks like.
Oh, is he in the field there?
Yeah.
That's excellent. He's working. It's work day for him. Got to get that on camera.
I didn't even know he goes out in the fields anymore. They do want to go to the Melnick Church.
Okay. Over here.
Right.
I didn't know that.
See what happened? See, Greener, where all the, this was a big cheese factory right over here, where it's all this open. It's only been about 3 years ago that was torn down.
Now,
This was nothing. That's the railroad track. That's how close.
wait, maybe you want to stop and take a picture of
We'll
Grandma's
turn around
house.
and come back this way and stop it.
All right. Is this a bike trail
Yes,
yet?
bike trail, but it ends over here at Green Street. It's from Rockwood down. They're working on it. Oh, that was the biggest thing. Trains going through here.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, his big trains went right in my grandma's backyard. It was just,
You know, when I was a kid, I would go on the porch when I heard the train coming in. I was see how brave. If I could stay there while the train thundered by. Never made it. Train got, when I heard that engine bang away, I jumped in the house. Couldn't handle it. Now, originally there was a barn because way back at turn of the century, the cheese factory wasn't that supported. They had also about 3 cows or 4 cows and a barn here. They had some land on the other side of the track. In fact, as the story is, great-grandpa hung himself in that barn. Now there's the house. Let's stop here. That was the biggest mansion around in 1912 when they built that house. And back over here was an old log house.
Should we get out?
this is where I spent weekends when Mom and Dad went fishing.
Is that right?
They'd drop me off here and go fishing. And I remember one year Henry and Brona came when I was here. And they brought me, you know, I'd get Eileen's toys
Oh, is
after
that right?
Eileen, and they'd bring me dress clothes and toys after Eileen. And they brought this aqua turquoise box filled with Easter grass and Easter candy. And I can still remember Uncle Henry saying, "We saw the Easter bunny and he asked us to give this to you." Boy, I just thought that was the neatest thing in the world.
Yeah, there used to be buildings back there. Was a two-car garage, a chicken coop, and a pig pen originally. And then the cheese factory was all along in here. And behind the cheese factory there was a big wooden tank, a whey tank. So when you dumped your milk, you want to take whey for your pigs, you drove up, and there's a wooden pump in that tank. You'd pump your milk cans full of whey to take back to feed to the pigs.
The whey was a waste product from
Waste
the cheese,
product, yes.
from the cheese process.
Right. This house was built in 1912.
Okay.
It was a mansion at that time. It actually had waterworks.
Huh.
You had a pump. You had to go down the basement. My son, you went down the basement, you pumped this pump like this, till the air pressure came up on that big tank. Now you had, till that pressure was gone, you had waterworks. You had water in the kitchen, and you had water in the bathroom.
Huh.
There was a sink upstairs, but it was never plumbed. In my day, it was still not working. If you wanted water upstairs, you put the plug in there and brought up a pitcher of water and dumped it in there. But nobody lived upstairs. Kids were, see, by 1912, well, no, my mother, Emily, Lillian were probably about 16, 17 right there, ready to move out. But there was also a log house back here.
Well, Grandma was.
And you've got the boards from that log house that was back there.
Oh yeah.
Those are those boards that little house was built on.
Yeah.
And those boards you picked up. Those
Yeah.
came out. You remember? You can't buy boards thick like that anymore. And that's where they came from. That log house. And my dad, we had a 38 Plymouth at that time, and he cut, behind the back seat. There was this hunk of metal like this and he cut them out with a hacksaw, so he could open the trunk, take the back seat out, and put those boards in there.
Huh.
And that's how those boards got hauled home like that. I remember going to my dad, and he had such a load in it, he couldn't, sometimes if he hit a little bump, the steering wheel was free, because the car was like that. And I remember him saying,
No way.
he said, "I will never do that again." I remember my dad, we pulled in the driveway, and it wouldn't steer till the kind of car settled down. And then he steered all the way up to the garage and he unloaded it. I remember my dad he was scared. He was really scared. I mean, we went up to Vidoc, and I told my dad, "I hope this thing will go up. We make it home. Yeah, make it home." And then he didn't know, should I take the airport road or should we go on Boulevard? But he took the airport road. And just in case something happened, he'd be off to Monterey. But he made it home.
So, what do you think the story is on those boards? How were they cut? Do you think it was all local lumber and?
That was definitely all local lumber. Boy, sure.
Yeah.
From the sawmill around there was a sawmill. Old closest corners was a sawmill. A lot of sawmills.
So, Mom, that's old 141 right there.
Yep.
That's old one for you.
County R.
And you will never believe this. Just Floyd Zeman lived across from Duhan's over there. So there's a girl came in band last year. Him and Sue. It was Henry's room upstairs, but off that was another bedroom, and I remember sleeping in that other bedroom.
I remember going up the steps and the room to the right. And I thought, that's his, I remember that kind of a hallway. And
the
that's
windows
about
were
as much-
real low. You could look out over the railroad track. But you look how close those railroad tracks are when you
Yeah,
think.
that's just amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, this big, long train.
And
Oh, I remember seeing them. I
These
remember
are
seeing those trees.
big steam engines that thundered past there.
Now, you know what I remember is that the furnace in the sitting room, I mean, that
Oh yeah, the
isinglass.
space heat, with the isinglass on it. It had
Yeah,
chrome
it was
things
just-
around it.
it was
In
just-
wintertime it was there, but not in the summer. Only in the wintertime it was put there.
they took it away.
They took it away in spring. When the
Really?
weather was warm, that thing was put in the shed.
It just, in my mind, it was just this
Oh, yeah.
beautiful thing.
Right
because it
in the
just
middle of the living room.
glowed when the fire, because the isinglass is amber glass,
Oh yeah.
and the fire glowing in the middle. Like you said, chrome. It was just this gorgeous
And it was
heater.
just meant to radiate heat. Is that?
It was like a space heater, but it was a very, very fine space heater.
Was
And
it
in the
gas
front-
powered or
No, no,
electric?
wood.
Wood powered.
But the front room was never used. Down the
See,
the
when I was
parlor.
the so-called parlor, that was where Uncle Henry had all his radios. He repaired radios. That's where he had his radio shop in there.
Really?
Because they always used to close those doors. Remember the doors come together?
I
to
just
close?
don't ever remember going in there. That was always closed up.
Yeah, because Henry had all his radio
I
stuff
didn't
in there.
know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But I remember Grandma drying apples and coming here. I love those dried apples. And then the
Right.
next time I ran into dried apples is when you were drying apples.
I mean, that thing must have been 1,000 kilowatt or something. But when he lit that twin mantle thing, and he always took it outside to light it, you know, or in the, whether it was in case it blew up or something.
Yeah.
I remember he warmed what they call a generator. He had that little cedar stick. He'd have that lit, and then you hold it over there, and then awesome. It'd start to glow, and then kind of little pop. And one day, oh, it was light like you wouldn't believe. And then he'd hang it up on the wall. But I remember my dad saying, just put the kerosene lamp on. We aren't going to stay that late. But fire up the kerosene lamp.
Wow.
But then,
I remember that. I always remember lighting that gas lamp. in
and,
the big
and you know, they
kitchen.
talk about these wind turbines. They had one. They had a 6-volt battery under the radio. And up on the roof, they had this, what they call a wind charger. And then when the wind was right, he'd go up there, pull the lever so its tail would swing off, and
Yeah.
the thing would be charging up that battery.
Huh.
Who did that?
Uncle Harry.
Really?
Sure, ask Paul. That's how they charged the battery, you know, with that wind charger, because there was no electricity. But that way they had a radio that worked till the battery went dead. No.
So what year was electricity actually put in, do you think?
I think it was about 1946. It was after the war. You'd have to ask Paul on that, but I think it was just right after, because just before the war, Wits got electricity. They didn't have electricity. I remember we going out there and there's lights on and everything else. Yeah, just got the electricity all turned on. And that's what Uncle Henry used to do. He used to wire these old farmhouses. That was his job after the war. He wired up these old farmhouses.
Really? After the war?
After the war, when he came back from service, I remember.
Did they go right to Brookfield?
No, he was still here. He was here for a while. He was here when he first got married. They were here for a while. And then Henry, because I remember when I lived in Brookfield, I needed a doorbell. He was showing how he used to do this. He had these chains he dropped down through the wall, you know, with the wire on. He'd pull it. Oh, really clever. He'd drop that thing down and pop a little hole there, and there was the wire. And he'd put a doorbell in it. It took a half hour. And there was no doorbell in that first house, that half a duplex I lived in. But that's what he did.
All right.
This is all a gravel road in my lifetime. I don't know when now there are no gravel roads anymore.
Not many.
Yeah, go ahead. You're safe over here. Go. Spin the wheels.
Where are we off to next?
Meldick Church.
Mom played the pump organ for Henry and Verona's wedding. And I think for Leslie and Helen's wedding.
Is that right? I don't remember that.
Log cabin.
This used to be a tavern and a dance hall. Right straight back there was a dance hall. In fact, my music room, or so-called room, has got some of these old dances. 48 or 49. Always dances in those days.
Is there a minister, full-time
I don't
minister?
think so. I don't think so. But you know, here they have dinners here about every third month or so. They'll have either a chicken dinner or a dumplings and sauerkraut. Did Mildred ever tell you when we took Ma here?
Peppercorn. Baklav.
What? Yeah, you took Mom here and what?
And well, she stumbled all over. Understand why some of that back there, you have to care for some of that stuff anymore. She couldn't understand that. Why they didn't care for that. This is
You like to get out and look around?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
this is Leslie's family. He married a Bohacek, and this is Bohacek and Leslie Scarborough. See, that's Leslie. His wife Helen is buried next there.
Oh.
And he's got a couple of little babies in here too.
Melnick Presbyterian Church, where my mother grew up and went through confirmation. The youth group was called Christian Endeavor, and I have her Christian Endeavor ring. And she was the organist here as a young girl. She was taught by the pastor, Pastor Tepley. And then I had Pastor Tepley's son was my piano teacher, and he played at Mom's funeral.
Can you see through the windows at all or no?
No, you can't.
I sent to my brother's father. I took pages of it. I copied and sent to my brother's father. And this is kind of the seat right here. Checked maybe about a couple miles around here.
Oh, okay.
Because when you go down the highway, all of a sudden you come to Hugo Habeck, a German. That was the end of the check.
Oh,
The
that was
Germans
the
took
end of
over
that. Okay. Oh, interesting.
But there's a group out of Reedsville, a bunch of Bohemians out there. They have a Czech Fest out there. But I guess the biggest group is in Nebraska, where they have lots of. My grandpa, my mother's dad, my mother's side of the family. He was a cheesemaker.
That's my cousin, and they're too big and fast.
Big thing in the community, cheesemaker. You know, that's
Yeah.
like a congressman today, just about. And I remember as a kid, you know, once a year they used to have a cheese meeting. He had a meeting, and they had cheese and sausage and lots of beer. Oh, a keg, one of those little kegs of beer always in the cheese factory. They had card tables set up. You'd hear them banging on, playing sheephead. That would then Grandpa got up and gave a speech. How much money he earned last year, how much went back to the farmers, and everything was
Down?
in the cheese factory by Grandpa. Grandpa Custer. You had a cheesemaker, or farmers meeting once a year. And I remember going there with Leslie and Leroy, and because us kids ran all over the place eating everything you could think of, and getting a little beer once in a while too. But I remember that because it was about, I think he had about 20 farmers, and they all came there to listen. He gave out the yearly report, what happened, how much he made, and everything else. Everything was on above. And I remember my dad and Dad was so worried for 2 days when the meeting was coming up. Would they believe him? Maybe they thought he was cheating them. He used to worry so much about that. Can you see that today? I cheated him fine.
Yeah, I can remember Mom always talking about Dad always worried about, she said, we never ate the good cheese. We never ate the good cheese because then somebody might think we were cheating them, so we always ate.
Oh, wow.
That black book, there's a picture of the first truck. I think it was a 24 Dodge. That was their first car. And then in like 28 or 29, they converted it to a pickup truck. And he bought a new Dodge, the green one. I remember that a green 28 Dodge. And that pickup truck was what he took to the coal storage in Francis Creek. And then when, just before when Henry went to service, the elevator over there where they had the coal storage and that, he put some cheese aside till when Henry got back from service. It was like 4 years.
Really?
And they saved that cheese till Henry got back from service.
See, I would never know these things.
Mhm.
These are things I would never know. Well, that's just amazing. Cold storage in, did you say Francis Creek?
Francis Creek. That's all gone. It used to be right by the tracks there. It used to be a grain elevator. I remember going to that grain elevator with cousin John Witt. Went there with a team of horses, you know, and a wagon load of grain to be ground up into feed.
Wow.
That's all gone now.
I was talking about the meeting in the cheese factory that Grandpa had with all the farmers.
Oh yeah.
No, every year he'd have cheese make for them, and my mother would go out there, and they'd be there to help, you know, to help with food and the beer and whatever they needed. And they all had 10 or 12 tables playing sheephead. You all played sheephead. You hear
In
them
the cheese factory.
in the cheese factory. It'd bang on that card, you know, and trump bang on the table. And the beer kind of wiggled around always in the glass. But there was a keg like that, and there was a steady line coming and going for that keg, you know.
So were they wooden kegs then, or were they?
Wooden one. It's a wooden keg. Oh, sure.
And what's all the history of Melnick Church exactly? I know a lot of history.
I wish I had that book. I sent a Claude a whole bunch of pages of it. It was a book that had all when this all took place here. And I don't remember all of it now. But a group came here And one of them was a minister and started a little church here, and it just kind of grew. More Bohemians moved in here, you know. My buddy's coming over now, and his buddy's going to come over, and then his mother's come over with his sister, and that's how all this gets going. But I found a book in the library. It was checks in Wisconsin, and there was a whole part about Melnick.
And Grandma and Grandpa were married here.
1928. September.
And Henry and Verona were married here in 46.
And Helen and Leslie were
And
married
Helen and
here.
Leslie were married
and I
here.
was their
Were you
flower
baptized
girl.
here, Mom?
I was baptized here.
You were?
Oh, yes. I have two middle names. I was born on St. Camille Day. My name is Donald Jean Camille Duhan. How about that?
Camille.
Camille. Well, it was Camillus, I think, originally. Camillus was the original name. I think
Okay.
it's on the... My baptism thing is hanging in the wall in the basement. But that and the day, it's one of these things with the prices of everything. A loaf of bread was like 8 cents. A pound of butter was 21 cents. And you can, there's a machine that puts those out. We were at the Dells, and then, you know, you put the quarter. Well, it's probably a couple bucks, but at that time it was like a quarter, and this thing spit out this thing. All the compare the prices from that day, from the day you were born. You had to punch that all in, and out it came. I've got it hanging in the basement.
Right. There's other relatives buried that you took Mom to the cemetery, and I think a lot of them died of the flu epidemic. I remember going there as a little girl. What cemetery was that?
Oh, you got me on that one.
Oh, what cemetery did you take Mom to besides this one?
Well, we went on to west, it would be west of 41 at Pelican's Corners. There's a house leaving there, and I think that's her Mom's grandpa who hung himself in that barn.
Your mom's grandpa?
Yeah. I've got that story, and I know I've heard it many times. I'm pretty sure that was my mother's grandpa. See, that grandma lived there with them. When I was a kid, great-grandma was there until she was about 96.
Was that on her mom or dad's side?
Mother's side, all on the mother's side, people laugh.
Yes, I remember Mom talking about her grandpa hanging himself, and then her grandma continued to live in that log cabin.
And then when they built this new house, Grandpa built that room off the kitchen just for her. And when we used to come there, we'd always have to go see great-grandma. And she'd give us those cheap chocolates. Oh, they were terrible. Oh, Grandma, thank you so much, thank you so much. Jerry's, you want mine? Those little chocolate drops, you know, they had a coating about 1,000th of an inch thick over this. What do you call it?
They were cone-shaped.
Cone-shaped peppermint. And this is Hobby Chicks, right over here on the left.
Well, you can drive in there.
Yeah, you're driving there.
Take a left.
Right to drive
Now, this ditch was always a creek. Wouldn't it be funny if Paul and Ernie were here?
Should I pull all the way in?
Yeah, sure, go all the way. That's too bad. No one's here right now.
Wow, I remember this now.
This is
Yeah.
where John and Gail got engaged.
Wow.
In the
They were
woods.
here and they went out with Gary about 3 weeks ago.
Went out where?
Went out to dinner.
Oh,
Oh yeah. That's what I just said to Chris. Oh, I just whispered to Chris. That's expensive.
yeah, this is the place.
That's where the garage was before. That's fairly new, maybe 20, 30 years old. But that's where the garage over there. That's where all those license plates came from.
Hmm.
See, Paulie's got a little getaway up there. Where you see the pipe, the heat pipe coming out. He made a, you know, little. If you want to get away from everybody, you can go up there. It's kind of neat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but you know, Mildred was here because she looked in the barn, and Mildred's father was a grade A milk, beautiful farm barn, and you know, big fans and everything. He sold milk to the local dairies. Nobody, none of our relatives ever had grade A milk. They had grade B milk, cheese factory milk. But her dad was a fine farmer, evidently. Frank Fessler, because he had grade A milk all the time. Went to the dairies.
What makes milk grade A or grade B?
Cleanliness and the cows. You have to have cows fed properly and all that good stuff. And it's tested. And if you get grade A milk, it's considerably more money than grade B. Grade B just milk that's fairly clean and gets to the cheese factory where it's boiled to nothing anyways.
I didn't know that.
But Milda's, he couldn't believe the primitive place this is.
Mm.
There was like 4 or 5 cows, just a wooden stall in there, you know. There's no electricity in that barn at all. And in winter with a lantern, a little kerosene lantern, Uncle Harry would go in there. And that was a chicken coop over there. And I don't think they ever had pigs here, but that's where the cows were on there, for milk cow. This is the barnyard, right? See, that was a dirty old, you know, just mud, kind of when it was wet, barnyard. But they had a big gas engine over here that pumped water into the barn, so they could, you know, water the cows and that. They had flywheels about like this. I remember cranking that thing all.
What do you think these machines are? This thing here, for
Well,
instance.
Don said they never had electricity in this barn. There never was electricity. They had a pump in that house that pumped water in here for the cattle, but they never had electricity.
That's pretty
I don't know
interesting.
if you heard him talking about, you know, Mildred grew up on a farm, and her father had grade A milk which was sold to dairies, but that she was just amazed at how antiquated
Oh,
it is.
yeah. This is looking up into the silo.